Story 1. Never start a fight. If someone starts one with you, finish it. Story 2. I would say if you see a child bullying another child, stand up to them. Also, do not put your hands on someone unless they put their hands on you first. This is what my parents told me. I have a story. A kid had been rude to a friend of mine for a while, and I could not sit by anymore, so I confronted the bully. He punched me, so I punched him in the face and made his nose bleed. I was suspended from school for a week. After that, my dad was shown the security footage and he defended me. I was still suspended because I had punched someone, but my mom and dad did not punish me. Afterwards, my dad and I went to McDonald's and he bought me a McFlurry and a Happy Meal. It was a great day. Story 3. Violence should be a last resort, but it can be an option when all else fails. I punched a bully when I was about 7 because it had gone too far. We were okay after that. Story 4. I went through this and was very angry about the whole thing. My child was bullied to the point of missing a lot of school and crying in the car before going in. All the focus was on helping the bully, as if counselors should figure out why he was doing it, while my daughter was left out in the cold. There were no resources beyond being told to go to the nurse's office. This was plain assault. I became very angry as a parent at the complete lack of progress. I met with the guidance counselor and had a frank discussion about what had happened and what was happening. I told him that the school has training, responsibilities, and policies, as do the police, and that if they were not willing or able to address it, it was my responsibility to protect my children. I summarized the conversation in an email to the guidance counselor, the principal, and the vice principal, and I asked for copies of documentation, policies, and rules for law enforcement engagement regarding bullying. I told both of my children at home that they could do what they needed to do in the classroom to stop the bullying. School consequences were immaterial to that decision. There would be no punishment at home. If you have to fight, win. The bully had already been expelled from 3 other schools and was at their 4th. Fortunately, it did not escalate to violence. The student was removed from the school for a 4th time. I suspect that decision was influenced by the legal action I was about 5 minutes away from initiating. Story 5. It is interesting that so many comments are about physical bullying. Most bullying is verbal. Story 6. The same way I was taught. The first time someone does it, ask them politely to stop and call your parents so they can inform the principal. The second time, politely ask again, call your parents, and have them request a parent-teacher meeting with the principal and the bully's parents. If it happens again after the meeting, you and your parents will have done everything possible to resolve the issue nonviolently. At that point, take firm, lawful action. Story 7. Warn them 3 times, then tell the teacher. If the teacher doesn't fix it, escalate the matter to the school administration or pursue appropriate nonviolent measures. Story 8. Stand up to it. You defend yourself and others. He has before. The school can go fuck itself. Story 9. As someone who was bullied so much in high school, I would say teach him how to fight back. Enroll him in classes where he can experience fighting in a safe environment to get used to it, so there is less fear of throwing a punch. That way, the next time a bully comes at him, he can give as good as he gets without emotion. I always did the right thing and ran to the teachers. This only made me look like a wuss to the teachers and to the bullies. The teachers became impatient with me for always bothering them instead of standing up for myself, and the bullies knew they were getting to me. Never start a fight, but always finish it. Yes, you might be called to the principal's office and suspended for fighting, but you will know you are in the right and maybe you will not get bullied so often. That is better than being suspended for fighting when you were nothing but a punching bag. Story 10. The only thing that actually works is to fight back. Bullies prefer meek victims whom they can attack without consequences. If the child fights back, they are no longer such an appealing target. However, teachers who ignore the bullying often treat your child as the aggressor because that is how it usually goes. Story 11. Tell them to be kind, but also to have good aim if kindness fails. Story 12. I tell my kids that if a kid hits them, they are welcome to hit back. I will not be mad. For non-physical bullying, I tell them to walk away and ignore the bully. Nothing makes a bully lose power more than that. Story 13. Don't be ashamed to come to me if it's a problem. Don't be afraid to protect yourself if it becomes physical. Story 14. We go through the yearbook together, pick things their bullies might be insecure about, and come up with zingers. Teach kids never to use these zingers offensively, only in defense, and to start with low-level yo mama jokes, escalating to self-esteem shattering roasts only if the bullying does not stop. Also teach them about communicable diseases and blood-borne pathogens if the bullying becomes physical. Story 15. I would tell him to fight dirty. Kick to the balls, eye gouges, and small joint manipulation. Bullies only understand violence. Story 16. There will always be people who mistake kindness for weakness. Be kind, but also earn a reputation as someone not to be messed with. The best way to earn this reputation is with humor. If you can get a whole room laughing at someone, you can get them to back off without getting into trouble. This can be difficult, but it is worth practicing. It is a useful skill throughout life. If humor does not work, consider enrolling in a martial arts school. Most of the time, it is enough to assume a trained sparring stance and use a couple of blocks. Limit yourself to blocking unless it is absolutely necessary to do more. Story 17. I feel fortunate because the school district where I live has done a good job addressing bullying. My son is 14, and when I asked if there were bullies at his school, he said no. He explained that bullies are jerks and most students do not want to be seen that way. So teasing usually stops if you call someone a bully. I also believe the school takes immediate, strict action when students report bullying. I live in an affluent suburb, which probably contributes. It would not be shocking if there were a school shooting here because this is the kind of place where that has happened, so the school treats threats very seriously. My wife and I enrolled our son in strip mall taekwondo classes that include training on dealing with bullies. The taekwondo school also works with local schools to address bullying, which helps. I am older than most parents of a 14-year-old and I did not grow up in the suburbs, so I told my son that if he has to defend himself he should do so, and his mother and I will handle any consequences. He knows we will always have his back and he should never be afraid to do what is right. Story 18. Bullies are reported and suspended unless the school prioritizes developing high-achieving athletes, in which case they are moved to another school. Story 19. If someone threatens you to keep something a secret, it's because something is wrong. If a teacher does not fix it, you can tell us, and we will be there to back you up. Story 20. So I got issued a warning because I said my son is going to be taught that he needs to defend himself if the teachers or other staff fail him. As my wife and I are both victims of high school bullying, I stand by my position. Fuck bullying, and fuck those who defend them. You need to talk things out. Yeah, sounds great. It did not work. I would rather have defended myself than go through all that again because violence is for people who are not smart enough. I'm 34 years old and I still have mental issues because of those assholes. My teachers and support staff failed me. They could not believe the bullies would do such things because they are such nice and popular boys. Only when a girl attempted suicide because of one of these popular and nice boys did they suddenly try to support me and listen. They tried to silence me too, to avoid exposing their failure to help those who needed them. My mental disease is a direct result of all that. I still have the voice in my head telling me I'm not good enough, to not trust people, and to put an immense amount of pressure on myself to be better. The voice was born in high school and is still part of my life, a constant battle with no end in sight. And my bullies? They got a slap on the wrist, please don't do it again, and 1 week of detention. If I ever got a second chance at life to relive my high school years, I would have listened to that voice. He would not have been the little pushover who was afraid of them. He would have fixed it one way or another because what is 1 week of detention anyway? Story 21. No fighting at school. Never throw the first punch. If you do get in a fight, there is no such thing as a dirty fight. Story 22. I recommend starting by teaching them not to be bullies. I am not saying you are doing something wrong, but bullies come from somewhere, and I do not understand how their parents do not know what kind of people they are raising. Story 23. Talk, tell, touch. Talk to the bully. Tell the faculty, then talk to them. Punch them in the throat. Story 24. Corinthians 25 verse 17. Do not start any trouble. There will be none. But if they do, use all your strength to fight back. Oddly, bullies admire this. Both times in grade school when I had to fight, the bully ended up wanting to be friends. Story 25. In first grade, my son was bullied, so I enrolled him in self-defense classes. Just before summer break, his teacher walked out with both boys. The bully was crying. My son finally defended himself and fought back. Unfortunately, he did so by pinching the other boy. I was hoping for a little more oomph, but I was proud of his bravery. The boys became best friends the next year, and we had the other boy over to our house many times. Story 26. I always remind my child that it is okay to walk away from a situation and seek help if they need it. It is important for them to know they are not alone in this. Story 27. If it is just words, let them talk. If it becomes physical, tell a teacher. If the teacher does not do anything to stop it, defend yourself. I will never punish my children for defending themselves or others. Story 28. We talk a lot about being inclusive, and we ask questions to get an idea of who plays with whom and whether some of her classmates seem left out or lack friends. Then we encourage her to include them by suggesting play dates and other activities. The most important thing we can do is teach empathy. Story 29. It depends. If a child is being verbally bullied, I would teach them to disengage verbally and help build their confidence. If they are being physically bullied and verbal disengagement does not work, and school officials have not done enough to stop it, I would teach them to use safe self-defense measures and to get help immediately. If you can tell a bully is going to confront you, try to avoid the situation, move to a safe place, and seek adult assistance. Most bullies are not affected by talking, and I do not encourage children to start fights, but I teach them not to be victims. If a confrontation seems unavoidable, prioritize your safety, try to create an opportunity to escape, and seek help rather than waiting to be hit. Story 30. The school system is fucked when it comes to bullying. My child was the victim. I followed all the channels with no positive outcome, so I taught my daughter how and where to punch her bully. She did as I told her, defended herself, and was suspended for a week. She wasn't punished at home. She had a lovely vacation week doing whatever she wanted. The bully never touched her or said anything to her again. So, in my books, that's a win. Story 31. First, make sure you let your child know it is never going to stop. If a bully is not at school, they will be at work, while driving, in stores, or elsewhere. Teach them how to respond to those behaviors and to stand up for themselves without becoming bullies. Let them know bullies are like pedophiles. Once you expose them and stand up to them, they back off. Unfortunately, there may be times when a hands-on lesson is needed. Find someone who will teach your child that hitting is not okay but may sometimes be necessary and show what that looks like. This is my opinion only. Story 32. After the third time, the school did nothing despite my daughter and me speaking with them. My daughter came home covered in mud because she had been pushed by a bully. I explained very calmly to her, "Next time she touches you, you hit her. The school will call me. I will 100% be on your side and I will handle it. Then we will go get ice cream." My daughter said she could not get in trouble at school. So the next day she told the girl, "I'm warning you. My mom said I can hit you if you touch me, and I'm going to make any trouble I get into worth it." The bully left her alone, and we still got ice cream. I love that kid. Story 33. I told mine that words are just words. But if they touch you, give them everything you have. I will have your back if you have to fight, especially if they throw the first punch. Story 34. Tell them to stop. If they do not, tell a teacher or another adult. If that does not work, handle the situation yourself. If you follow these steps, I can support you with complete confidence that you did everything correctly. Story 35. I have always told my child that if she tells the teachers and nothing gets done, she has my full support to give them a kicking. Story 36. I would start by demonstrating, through conversation and examples, that the things people say are not always true, and that you cannot let someone's disrespect translate into your own self-respect. Then I would show them how to stand up by defending their right to a safe classroom in every venue, even if it sometimes makes them uncomfortable. Once someone riles my sense of injustice, My inner rage demon becomes very good at paperwork and written complaints. People soon realize that when I have the right on my side, they can either join me or be left behind. Story 37. One reason I am not having children is that I would be stuck. If I were bullied now at 32, I would cry and apologize to the person. I would like to say to tell a teacher, but apparently these days teachers do nothing about bullying, so I do not know what to do. Story 38. Do not start a fight. If one is offered, try to get away. You have my permission to finish a fight that you are forced into. If you are suspended for defending yourself, I will take you for pizza and ice cream. Story 39. If another child is bullying you, tell them to stop. If they do not stop, tell your teacher and us. If the situation escalates, walk away and find an adult for help. Do not fight. Story 40. Fighting should not be the initial response. But if you need to fight, go at your opponent like you are the third rabbit chimpanzee walking up the ramp to Noah's Ark as the rain begins. Story 41. My father explained bullies to me. The essence was this: tell them to stop again and once more, then hurt them. If there is more than one, come home and talk to him. Do not expect an apology from them. You are not a person to them but an outlet for their poison home. A group of bullies targeted me once. I told my father. The following Monday at school, none of the bullies would look at me. I didn't ask. Story 42. My son was relentlessly bullied at his school last year. The school never did anything to protect him. I pulled him out and we transferred him to another school. He is much happier now. We have always told him that if they hit him first, he can hit them back. He is a very small boy and the youngest. He is not confrontational. We have had to help him learn to assert himself and to advocate for himself. Story 43. Do not start it, but you have my permission to finish it in any way you think appropriate. I will deal with the fallout. Story 44. I have thought about this a lot. My child is 4, so only in preschool, but I know it starts early. Part of me feels like it is best to teach her to run and tell an adult if someone hurts her, but then maybe I should teach her to push back. I don't know, but I should probably make a decision soon. Story 45. A big issue is recognizing a bully versus someone they do not get along with. They are different. Many adults cannot tell the difference either. With a real bully, stand up to them and tell the bully to stop. With someone they have a conflict with, ignore them and walk away. Story 46. As everyone else says, never start the fight. Always finish it. Telling the teacher is just as likely to get the victim in trouble because the system is crafted to protect bullies exclusively. There are many rules about fights. Ignore them and aim for the groin or throat. If you are being physically attacked by someone bigger than you, give them a reason to regret it for a while. Story 47. These are refreshing responses. I am not one for violence, but if you are getting beaten and you show no fight, it is going to keep happening. No kid should have to feel that taking their own life is the only option. Or they can do what my son did. Find a linebacker friend who would beat the kid up for him. Story 48. If they tease you or swear at you, respond in kind. If they hit you, defend yourself. You are nobody's punching bag. You are not responsible for parents who raise a troubled child. That is their problem. That's what my mom told me on the way to kindergarten. I laughed. It has stuck with me my whole life. My son is 3 now. I'm already talking to him about the difference between hitting and defending. It's okay to defend yourself. I even bought inflatable punching bags. I pretend to push him with one to get him in the habit of pushing back. The turn the other cheek approach will make school a living hell. I've seen boys get picked on from kindergarten through 12th grade, taking it every day and never fighting back. That's unacceptable and can become a lifelong issue. Don't let it start. Defend yourself. Story 49. As long as you are not the bully, I will stand behind you. Story 50. My mom told me not to give them a reaction. I did my best. I think I was just easy to bully. Story 51. 3 rules I told my kids. Tell others to please leave you alone. If that does not work, tell a teacher. If those 2 do not work, then start swinging. I will always have your back if you follow those steps. Story 52. Report it verbally, so it is on record. I will follow up with an email to the teacher and the principal for documentation. My child will be enrolled in boxing and kickboxing. If the bully is physical, they will be equipped to defend themselves. I will fully support the school's disciplinary action and then take my child for ice cream. I have learned that bullying behaviors must be addressed, not by speaking directly with the other child's parents, because they may also be part of the problem. Story 53. A local martial arts school had a class geared toward preventing bullying, and I took both of my children. They taught us to stand up straight, make eye contact, use a strong voice, and keep our hands ready to defend or deflect. Once you show you are not an easy target, the battle is mostly won. I also told them that if they were attacked, I would never punish them for defending themselves and that I would have their back. There might, however, be consequences from the school, and they should take that into consideration. As far as I know, my son was attacked once, and it was during physical education right in front of the coach. They were playing dodgeball when a troubled student got hit by my son and decided to retaliate. He ran across the gym ready to fight, and my son tackled him the way he had learned in football. The coach just said, "You deserve that." Story 54. Never start it, but always finish it. I will back you 100%. Story 55. I am taking them to Krav Maga lessons if the teacher will not do anything about it. When they are expelled for finishing the fight, I will take them out for ice cream. Story 56. Be funny. I taught my kid how to be funny and how to take a bully down a peg. We're not big guys in my family. He knows how to stand up for himself, but only as a last resort. Here's the thing about high school dynamics. Being a bully is often a social role. If you're funny and keep calmly mocking a bully while they try to tease you, their threats start to look small. Resorting to violence turns toughness into insecurity, and roughing someone up makes the bully look worse, not you. It helps with the girls too. You're not a violent jerk, and you can make people laugh. Most bullies are semi-popular, so befriend everyone. Make them laugh, don't hit on them, be kind, and treat people like people. Those are the kids who end up dating the bullies, and they won't want extra drama. Since we're not big athletes, we play the long game and win the psychological battle. Story 57. You have to stand up to a bully. Nothing else works. You can report the bully to others, but bullies will continue unless you refuse to let yourself be a target. I would start with words. Here are some things you can say back. If that does not work, never initiate physical contact. If someone else starts it, defend yourself as if your life depends on it. Martial arts or boxing classes will give you the confidence to stay calm and try to talk your way out of a situation first. Consequences at school may not matter. If you are being bullied, come to me and I will make sure you can take care of it. If you inevitably get into trouble for defending yourself, have them call me and do not answer any questions. If you have access to phones and a friend can record evidence, do that. Story 58. Be strong enough to be gentle and protect those who are weaker than you. End a fight with enough force to be decisive and to make the other person think twice about doing it again. Story 59. Bullies need to understand that there will be a cost to their actions. You may lose the fight, but you have to land a blow he will remember. If you do, they typically move on to other targets that offer less risk. At heart, bullies are almost always cowards who fear a fair fight. Story 60. The worst bullying right now is not on school grounds. It is on social media. Unless the advice you give your children helps them combat that kind of aggression, telling them it is okay to punch someone if they push them will not help. I am not saying you never have to defend yourself, but that is not the main point. Half the time, the goal is to goad someone into a violent reaction so it can be filmed and posted on TikTok. Story 61. I would tell the child to say clearly, "Stop." If it persists, tell the teacher. If the teacher does nothing, tell me and I will handle it. I will speak with the teacher and give her the opportunity to address the problem. If it continues, I will speak with the principal and be very clear. My next conversation will be with the principal and the bullies. Parents, if it persists after that, charges will be filed. I will follow through. I will also obtain a restraining order on behalf of my child against the bully. The school will be notified of the order and must honor it. If the bully violates the order or communicates with my child in any way, I will sue the bully and the family and press further charges. I do not believe in one strike and you are out policies. People should be given an opportunity to change their behavior. Schools and parents must have a chance to fix the problem. That said, bullying is hard to live with. Expecting someone to put up with it endlessly without a clear endpoint is unacceptable. If the school and parents fail, the child needs different supervision. But first, take the steps to be sure that is the case. This is how to handle bullying. Story 62. Do not take it. If someone mocks you, mock them back. If they get physical, do not back down. Raise your voice. The only thing that stopped people from bullying me was when I stopped turning the other cheek and trying to be invisible. Story 63. The same way my mother told me to deal with it. I stood up in the middle of class and announced that I was the most popular girl in school. When everyone asked how I knew, I said, I get bullied by almost everyone. To be bullied every day, you have to be on people's minds every day. That means I am on everyone's mind. So I must be the most popular girl in the school. They thought about it and no one bullied me anymore. They left me alone. Story 64. We try to focus heavily on handling it in the way the Bible recommends, that is, talking about it and turning the other cheek. But I also tell my kids that Jesus flipped some tables too when necessary. They can try to handle it themselves, but if it escalates or turns into physical violence or emotional abuse, they should tell us, not a teacher. It is my job as a parent to fight that battle for them, and I will gladly and pettily do so. Story 65. You never want to get punked, especially in front of others. Those incidents leave marks. You have to nip it in the bud. I have told my middle school child repeatedly, if anyone touches you without your consent, look at the person sternly and say, don't fucking touch me. If they continue to touch you, punch them. No school punishment for getting into a fight is worse than the marks of bullying. Story 66. Teach them to fight. Bullying will never go away. It's the same as racism. It'll always be present. The only true way of dealing with a bully, in my view, is to beat their ass. Talking doesn't work. Actions do. The schools don't truly care for individual kids' needs. As long as your child attends day-to-day classes, their funding won't be hurt. They say zero tolerance, but nothing is ever truly done. This comes from an ex-bully, class of 2012. Not once in my 12 years of school did the school ever do anything beyond out-of-school suspension and in-school suspension, which felt like a vacation for a child. Story 67. Never start a fight, but always carry pocket sand. Story 68. I put my son in jiu-jitsu because he is small and teased. He will always be small, so he needs to learn to defend himself. Kids can be cruel. Story 69. I am not a parent, but my best piece of advice is to enroll your children in wrestling. They will learn discipline, hard work, and develop lasting friendships. Most importantly, they will gain the skills to defend themselves if needed. I cannot recommend it enough. Story 70. Enroll them in a good self-defense program. Never start a fight, but if someone else does, finish it. I also explain to my children that bullies are often bullied themselves, sometimes by the very people who are supposed to be protecting or supporting them. Finding common ground to build a relationship on can prevent bullying. Story 71. Teach self-defense. Bullies rely on physical intimidation, and you can stop it as quickly as possible. Story 72. Always keep your distance. Never square up with anyone. Remove yourself from the situation and fight only as a last resort. Story 73. I teach them to look the bully straight in the eye, smile just enough to confuse them, and walk away like they don't exist. The power of silence hits harder than words. Story 74. We teach our children how and when to defend themselves, both verbally and physically. Our girls have quick wits, sharp tongues, and mean right hooks. Story 75. Throat punch. Only once and only in self-defense. Provide first aid if required. I am not actually serious, but some bullies seem to be asking for it. Story 76. Speak softly and carry a big stick. If I have kids, they will be enrolled in karate very early, because few things on earth are as good for your well-being as knowing you can physically defend yourself. Story 77. If you do not stand up for yourself, people will remember that. Even if you know you are going to lose, give the bully a proper what for. Story 78. Never start it, but have the willpower and compassion to stop yourself from finishing it. Story 79. Give them a chance to back down. If they swing, break their face. Story 80. Be mentally strong and unshakable. Prove your worth through your success. Story 81. Do not respond with violence unless you are immediately defending yourself. There is no shame in using necessary force to stop an attack. A fight is about protecting yourself, not honor. There is no shame in asking an adult for help, especially if bullying is ongoing. Your safety and security come first. If you are the aggressor, we will have a serious conversation about why it is happening and how you must stop. In our household, we talk about feelings instead of picking on others to feel better. If another child is being bullied, the same principles apply. Stand up for them when it is safe to do so. Bullies rely on social support and often target people they see as vulnerable. Story 82. Be confident. If you cannot, wear a mask of confidence. Story 83. Always be nice to everyone. If someone wants to fight, tell them you are not a fighter and report the incident to the nearest adult. Also prepare your child to defend themselves if they are being physically bullied or abused. Story 84. Martial arts are not about being violent but about being self-confident. Story 85. When I was a kid, my parents taught me to turn the other cheek and that it takes a bigger man to walk away. Those lessons were unhelpful and made me an easy target for relentless bullying. I am teaching my son to defend himself physically and that, as long as he did not start the altercation, he will not get in trouble for defending himself. Story 86. I am one of those people who was a tormented child and became a stand-up comic, so I would say that disarming people with humor is the best tactic. If that does not work, frightening them severely is a strong fallback. Let them know that there is no ceiling to what you are capable of. This approach can get the child into a lot of trouble. But if I, as a parent of 3, faced a situation in which a school with a zero-tolerance policy produced disproportionate consequences for my bullied child while showing leniency to the bullies, that school would encounter me in my final form as I sloughed off my meat skin to reveal my chitinous exoskeleton and reinforced mandibles. Story 87. Stand up for yourself and the people you love. I might even let my child start a fight slide if it is for the right reasons. Yes, they will get in trouble, but it will also set a precedent that they will not be treated poorly or expected to tolerate abuse from anyone. Story 88. This is what I would tell them when I was a teacher, using more age-appropriate language. Teach them not to be ashamed and that bullies are not actually targeting their clothes, their interests, or whatever they are being bullied about. Bullies bully because they want to bully. They pick something random, and even if the victim changes that thing, the bully will move on to another arbitrary target. The real reason the bully is doing it is about confidence. Bullies pick someone who does not show much confidence, and they enjoy the power of controlling their victim's emotions. The best way to reduce being targeted is to become more confident and to show it. Sometimes fighting back works because it demonstrates confidence, but it does not always work. If the victim is still visibly upset or crying, the bully can still feel like they won even after being physically hit. The best ways for a child to build confidence are community and friends. As a parent, enroll them in both out-of-school activities and activities at their school that they will enjoy. Start with out-of-school activities if they are already afraid of peers at school, and add school activities later to help them make friends there. Focus on the social aspect, not the activity itself, because friends are the important part. Also, if you are a parent, get your child tested for autism. I know many parents say their child does not have autism. Milder forms of autism spectrum disorder may not be obvious to parents because they do not see their children in complex social situations like school, and because the child is not the stereotypical Rain Man. If a child is on the spectrum, being able to specifically address the social areas they struggle with can change their life into adulthood, far beyond just reducing bullying. Story 89. Do not give them a reaction. Bullies like easy targets they can rile up. Do not be meek. If you respond, say it to their face. If they try to intimidate you into silence, look them in the eye and say it firmly. Do not back down from a physical confrontation if they want you to. If you stand up for yourself, they will often back down. If they do not back down, let them start the aggression, but be prepared to defend yourself. Even if you win, you can still get hurt. Most bullies do not actually want to fight. Two exceptions. If someone is actively training in mixed martial arts and trying to show off, try to disengage. Or if the person has a demonstrable history of excessive or dangerous violence. Alcohol changes the situation because people often act worse when they drink. That requires a different approach. Story 90. I tell my 5-year-old daughter to tell the other children to stop. If they do not, she should tell a teacher. If the teacher does not stop it, the teacher should make them stop or call me. If someone is actively hitting her, I have told her to put them down. She is big for her age and often fights her very strong 3-year-old brother. So I am not too worried unless it is a much older child on the bus, since the route includes students up to 4th grade. When other children tease her, I tease her back playfully so she knows she is smart, beautiful, and strong. She is taller than the other kids, and teachers have told me she is more well-behaved and attentive than many of them. She knows she can come to us for anything, and she almost always leaves smiling. With my son, I think I will need to encourage a more peaceful approach because he is too into fighting, whether it is Heroes, Godzilla, or Dragon Ball Z. My daughter is more likely to ask for help. She needs to know it is okay to defend herself physically if she has tried everything else first. Story 91. First, understand that every child has a different life, home, and family. Not all of them have as good a life as you. People who bully are often insecure or unhappy, and it is usually not about you. If someone bullies you, tell them clearly and firmly that you do not appreciate it and that you will not tolerate it. Try not to let them scare you or make you feel weak. Often they are the insecure ones, which is why they lash out. Walk away, protect yourself and your feelings, and remove yourself from the situation. If the bullying continues, tell a teacher or another trusted adult. If it persists, tell them again and involve parents or school authorities. If teachers and adults know about persistent bullying, you are less likely to be held responsible if you need to defend yourself. If someone becomes violent, you are justified in protecting yourself. If they try to hit you, protect yourself and get to a safe place. Afterwards, seek help from a teacher, another adult, or the authorities and report what happened. If bullying continues or you fear for your safety, seek help from school officials, parents, or law enforcement. Do not respond with unnecessary violence. Story 92. Try to walk away. If that does not work, fight. Remember to target the nose, neck, nuts, and knees and be loud when you do it. Story 93. Many people here are acting tough and saying what they wish they had done as children. Story 94. Enroll them in self-defense classes after school to teach them how to defend themselves if necessary. Schools do a poor job addressing bullying, and I would rather not see my child in the hospital. If a situation escalates to physical violence, I will make sure my children know how to end a physical altercation. Story 95. When I was 13, I was bullied by a classmate and his older brother. My dad said, "Hit back so hard that they back off. You might get a beating, but they will not come back if you hurt them." I filled a football sock with stones, and when they started on me, I hit my classmate in the face with it. There was so much blood, I started to panic. In the end, the school tried to suspend me, but my dad told the headmaster that if he did, he would go to the local paper with the story, so I was not suspended. The two boys never bothered me again. Story 96. Be socially and physically prepared for high school before he gets there. Make sure he is as large, strong, and well-trained as possible, and be ready to support him if anything happens. If a kid can wrestle with me, he'll have no trouble with other students. I went to a bad school. Story 97. If a child does not fit in and is bullied by everyone, teaching them to fight only encourages them to blame themselves for the abuse. The solution is to create school environments where aggressive behavior is not accepted as normal. Story 98. I used to work as a school police officer. I've been involved in more bullying cases than you can imagine. Let me tell you what I would do. Teach your children to defend themselves and to stand up for their rights, but teach them to be humble and not to start fights. Walking away does not always work. I saw children who tried to walk away and were continuously picked on until it became very bad. People will not bother you if they know you will stand up to them. Anyone who says fighting is not the answer has obviously never worked in a school district. If a child who is bullying another child is punched in the face, the bullying typically stops. At my school, unfortunately, both parties would typically be suspended for fighting regardless of who was at fault. I did not agree with that, but that was school policy. I always told parents not to be hard on their children for standing up for themselves. Story 99. I would not teach them to deal with it. Bullying is a disciplinary issue, not an opportunity for a child to hone diplomatic skills. I would be in there making life difficult for the administration until the bullies were disciplined and the harassment stopped. Story 100. A lot of this advice is about physical bullying. My children are still young, so I'm interested, but don't start. Be prepared to finish does not seem very relevant when I assume a lot of bullying is emotional and happens over social media. Unless you mean teaching my children clever comebacks. Story 101. My son was about 10 years old and had a bully at his new school who pushed him down and caused other problems. I told my neurodivergent son to punch the boy in the nose. He was afraid of the consequences, so I said, "You won't get in trouble with me. If they expel you, I will pick you up and take you for ice cream." He did it. He punched the bully in the nose, never got in trouble, and the bully stopped and later tried to befriend him. The only way to deal with bullies is to show your strength. Story 102. Ignore. Do not react. If that does not work, escalate to a teacher, then to an administrator. If that still does not work, remember why you train in martial arts. Story 103. Fighting can result in death or lifelong disabilities. It should be a last resort in a life or death situation. Although the inclination may be to fight back, use words instead. If that does not work, involve the school disciplinarian and ensure parents are calmly involved. If that still does not work, involve the authorities. At some point, to avoid a crippling lawsuit and loss of employment, someone in authority will act. Story 104. Depending on how bad it is, a good old email to the principal and the threat of a lawsuit usually gets staff to enforce safety. Teaching a child to defend themselves and escape is often the best option to avoid injury. And if necessary, have the child contact the police because teachers sometimes do not respond. Every report will prompt camera footage to be reviewed, and a strong lawsuit could hold the school and the bully liable. Story 105. Ignore it. If it persists, tell them to stop. If it still persists, tell the teacher. If the teacher does not address it, tell the principal that the teacher did not address it. If the principal does not address it, tell me and I will handle it. Keep me informed about what you have done. I hate the backlash internet response of, "Deal with it yourself." What a terrible way to make kids feel isolated and uncared for, and to encourage lashing out whenever they feel slighted. Give the proper authorities a chance to act responsibly, and if the correct channels fail, show the child that you will always be there for them. I would rather raise a child who depends on their parents or teachers than someone who believes the world is an uncaring place that is always out to get them. The world can be cold and uncaring, but that does not excuse being part of the problem. Story 106. I told my child to follow these steps. 1. Ask them to please leave you alone. 2. If they continue, ask again and walk away. 3. If they still continue, ask one more time to be left alone and keep walking. 4. Find a teacher if they keep bothering you. 5. If anyone touches you at any time, feel free to defend yourself. I will handle the school. I also said that if it comes to defending yourself, he should commit. Once the first punch is thrown, things are going to get real very quickly. Story 107. Give them a short, sharp shock and they don't do it again. Story 108. I am a 75-year-old man. I taught my children, who are now adults, and my grandchildren the same lesson. Ignore words. They are meaningless unless you give them meaning. If a bully lays a hand on you, clobber them and do it well. Grandpa even teaches some self-defense techniques. Lessons from Grandpa's school of ungentlemanly personal combat. But never let Grandpa find out you started the fight. Story 109. I'd probably go with a set of rules like this. 1. Never start a fight. 2. When possible, flee and seek the help of an adult. 3. If you can neither flee nor call for help, defend yourself as necessary. In return, as long as those rules are respected, I will do the following. 1. I will never think less of you for fleeing and prioritizing your own safety. 2. I will always be proud of you for seeking help, whether for yourself or for someone else. 3. If you ever get into a fight, I will always support and defend you should you receive any blame. Story 110. The same way I was taught. Observe what they are saying and either ignore the comments, play into them to make the other person feel uncomfortable, or do both. Just be tactful in what you say. If it becomes physical, never throw the first punch, but if you are attacked, throw the second one and finish the fight. If you get in trouble for defending yourself, I will back you up 100%. Bullies are just projecting their own insecurities onto you. In all my years dealing with bullying, once I started playing into their insecurities, it really threw them off, and eventually they stopped. Story 111. I plan to teach my boys how to fight. I would teach my daughters as well, but I do not have any. Story 112. Use a hammer. Teach your child to be kind to good people and to be firm with those who are unkind. Bullies often react strongly when they are confronted. Story 113. Out of desperation, I told her to fight back because the principal was incapable of stopping the bullies. Story 114. I am from a different era, long before the current rules in schools were in place. I would gather as much information from my child as possible, including names, dates, and times, and keep a record for a while. Then I would meet with the school principal and any available mental health staff to learn how they intend to stop it. Story 115. If my child told your child to stop and they did not, then my child has been instructed to punch your child in the nose. Do not start anything. It will not end well. Story 116. So my 6-year-old was being bullied by a child who pretended to be his friend and then did mean or hurtful things after he regained his trust. A few weeks ago, this other child started a verbal disagreement with my son and pushed him. My son got up and, in so many words, choke slammed the other child in retaliation. There was a mess with the school and the other parent, but I have consistently told my children to defend themselves and those who cannot. I was proud of him even though he got in trouble with the school. In my experience, school administration does not do anything about bullying, and bullied children end up in more trouble. Very frustrating. Story 117. Sticks and stones break bones, but the internet is forever. Be mindful of how you speak and how you are spoken to. Story 118. Defending yourself or another person is right. Do not join in if your friends are bullying others. Bullying against fascism is acceptable, though. Story 119. As a father of 3 adult sons, I believe you must teach your children to defend themselves. I know this is not popular in today's society, but bullies always take the path of least resistance. If you do not stand up to them, they will make your life miserable until they get bored and find another victim. My father taught me that if you know it is going to get physical, always hit first and hit hard. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.